Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 215th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Rebel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good, Cameron. How are you?
I'm doing well. Got my internet back at home.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah, you're having like little critters biting on the cords and stuff.
Mice were chewing through our internet cable. Not once, not twice, 3 times.
Like under the house? Or?
Yep, in the crawl space. So they came out and repaired it, but I was ready this time. I had mouse deterrent on hand. When the repairman did his thing, I immediately crawled under the house, sprayed the cable with repellent.
Oh, wow.
Sprinkled repellent.
We got a couple mouse traps down there.
I'm trying to be humane. I'm trying to just get them to go away.
Oh, okay, that's nice of you.
Did you make sure the spray won't like erode the cable?
It's safe for cables, although now my whole house smells like like peppermint and like spicy food. It's not the best.
2 good things individually, not together.
Yeah. Man,
there's nothing like just like a internet cord that's just like, man, that looks good to eat.
To eat, yeah. I mean, I can't blame the mice on that front. But also, so the repairman, he said, in case this happens again, listen to this.
I'm listening.
He gave me a spool of cable, of fiber optic cable with the ends on it.
Like you were going to repair it yourself?
He showed me how to do it.
Wow.
So if my mouse deterrent all fails, I can just fix it myself.
Well, you know what they say, feed a man a fish or something.
Yep.
Feed him for a day.
Just give him the fiber optic cable.
Give him the cord.
Feed him for life.
Feed him for a lifetime. Yep, exactly.
Internet for life.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so we didn't have internet for a good while there. I was trying to actually buy some cable myself, but then he just gave it to me.
I'm happy for you.
Thanks. Yeah, that's been on my mind a lot recently. Quality of life has suffered because of that. Turned my Xbox on for the first time, and it was like, oh, internet, my lifeblood. Kyle, what are we talking about today? Missouri lost to Florida. They don't have a game this week, so guess what? Do you smell that? It's basketball. It's not peppermint. It's basketball.
Oh, my God.
Basketball.
That's the only
I thought
reason
the building was burning down or something.
That's the only reason he brought that story up, was so he could do that little segue.
That was incredible.
We're going to talk about basketball. But before we do all of that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review wherever you listen to us, and you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod.
You think you'll ever do your radio voice again?
I'm thinking there's a different radio voice that I've been working on.
Okay.
You know, whether we'll ever see it, to be determined.
To be decided.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I thought you'd just say no and that would be it. But knowing something could be out there that's exciting.
Exactly. Kyle, Missouri lost to Florida 24-17. Oh, we're not ready for that. We got a few news items.
Yeah.
Missouri got a commitment from a 3-star athlete from Indiana, Philip Roche. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, 6'1", gonna play defensive back at Mizzou. Plays running back and safety in high school, but definitely a good athlete who will be versatile, be able to probably come up in the box, stop the run. Might be a candidate for the star position that Martez Manuel and Dalen Carnell play. Had a decent offer list. Boston College, Cincinnati, Indiana, Nebraska were some of the headliners for sure. So other schools wanted him, and Mizzou got him.
A little bit of a Indiana pipeline developing.
Mm-hmm.
Several guys on the roster and a couple commits.
Yeah, actually, Dalen Carnell's dad.
That's right.
Responded to our tweet about that. That we have 4 guys on the roster now from Indiana. So building that pipeline.
Love to see it. What else? There was some news coming out of football practice regarding how the team was taking drills with the bye week coming up, and it looked like O'Drink said in a press conference that he's giving younger players more opportunities in team drills and things, and just kind of seeing what he's got. He kind of alluded to, in his mind, this is kind of what the bye week is for, getting guys some reps in practice that don't usually get it, and just kind of an opportunity to see what you have.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, I do think the bye week has come at a great time as far as like little injuries and like kind of nicks and bruises and all that stuff. Like obviously Luther Burden left the Florida game with an ankle injury, and Dominic Lovett's not 100%. There's probably almost everybody on the team that's been playing at all is not 100%. So the bye week, for that reason, comes at a really good time to get everybody kind of 100% moving forward. But yeah, I mean, I guess this is interesting. I have never really heard the bye week described as a time to get your younger players reps, I guess. But I mean, I like it. I like the sound of that. We have a lot of talented young guys who need experience and need reps. So sounds good to me. He mentioned Sam Horn specifically as well, along with some other guys, maybe getting some game snaps. I don't know if that's something specifically that we can get excited about, but he's not shutting the door on it. So, Sam Horn he's really green, like he played 2 sports in high school and came to Mizzou in June. He had some homework to do when he got here. Obviously, physically, he's gifted. He's probably ready to go, but there are things that you have to. You're controlling the offense. You were running the show as the quarterback, and that whether that's truly the reason why he's not playing right now or not, we'll never know. But that's certainly what Coach Drink is going to say.
I still, even with all of the questions we've had about Coach Drink's decision making when it comes to who is the starting quarterback, going all the way to starting Sean Robinson in game 1 of the Drinkwitz era, I still got to believe, he's calling the plays into the quarterback, and he's got to be on the same page with him to feel comfortable putting him out there as a starter. And I don't know. I think it's possible that during his entire time so far at Mizzou, he has not felt like he's had the guy that he can just call whatever play he wants and just be as confident as you can expect to be with how your quarterback's going to execute. Hopefully we will see that at some point.
Yeah, I think with all of the weird situations we have seen, I think there have been some trust issues for sure. So I think that would definitely seems to hold up.
All right, now we talk about this Florida game.
Yeah, let's do it.
Missouri lost to Florida 24-17. In classic Mizzou fashion, we basically spotted them 10 points to start the game.
Yep.
Florida got a field goal after bad punt coverage from Mizzou allowed them to return it basically into field goal range. And then on Missouri's next offensive possession, Brady Cook throws a pick 6. Next thing you know, from kickoff, you blink, it's 10-0 Florida. And we have seen so many times now the Missouri Tiger football team get down early but not give up and claw their way back into the game. They did that again this time, but shocker, too little too late. You started out in a hole and you weren't able to dig yourself all the way out of it.
Yeah, getting really tired of seeing that kind of stuff. Just the opposite of whatever starting fast is, which is something that Coach Drink says a lot in like interviews and stuff. He always says stuff like, "We got to start fast," and then they literally do the opposite.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, when you look at this game, like from a stats perspective and outside of just like huge negative plays, honestly, I think Missouri was the better team, which is, I don't know if that's a good thing or if that's depressing, but a couple of statistics of note from this game that I just kind of wanted to run through. Missouri first downs. Missouri had 21 first downs in this game. Florida had 13. Missouri had 370 total yards of offense. 370. Florida had 297. So significantly more yards. I guess I don't know if you can say significantly, but more yards. Significantly more passing yards. They had 220 passing yards. Florida had 66. So those are the good things. That's like Missouri. From those stats, you'd probably think Missouri won the game. However, they were sacked. Missouri was sacked 4 times. Florida was sacked once. So he was getting pressured.
I was going to bring up Florida, 13 tackles for loss in this game.
Yeah.
And that's been a thing all season for the Missouri offense.
Yeah, and then another thing that's been a big thing all season is the penalties. Missouri had 6 penalties for 55 yards, which honestly is
not the worst we've seen.
It's probably better than what they have done. And they didn't have I don't think they had many like just critical penalties like they've had in previous games this year. But the reason that it stands out is Florida had 1 penalty for 5 yards. So according to the referees, Florida was playing a much cleaner game, and that hurts us.
Yeah, so you mentioned Florida's offensive stats. Man, Anthony Richardson was not doing anything to scare me, especially through the air. Yeah, 8 of 14 passing for 66 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Yep,
that's nothing.
Nothing at all. He did have a really nice touchdown pass towards the end of the game that like genuinely looked really good, but he was not consistent, and we knew that was probably going to happen, where he'd have some big plays but wouldn't be able to sustain it for the whole game.
I thought he would perform better throwing the ball than he did.
Mm-hmm.
It's so frustrating to see that stat line from an opposing quarterback, and it's not like that's the stat line you expect when a guy like got benched or got hurt and like didn't complete the game.
Yeah,
you expect to see multiple quarterbacks when you see a stat line like that.
Yeah. Real quick, something I tweeted at halftime of this game was just kind of taking a closer look at how Missouri's done point-wise compared to their opponents like in the first and second quarter of games. So it's like that's kind of been a thing where it seems like Missouri starts slow, they kind of like rally back in the second quarter. So I took a closer look at that. Through the first 6 games of the year, in the first quarter of games, Missouri has scored 20 points. Their opponents have scored 37. So clearly, it's not as bad as I thought it might be, honestly, but that's counting like some games against not good opponents. Like Abilene Christian, I think, was a game where Missouri got up early. So if you take that game out of the equation, it's pretty ugly. In the second quarter, Missouri's destroying their opponents. In the second quarter, Missouri has 64 points, and opponents have 26. So like almost tripling up their opponents in second quarters of games so far.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri scored 10 points in the second quarter to Florida's 0, tie game at halftime.
Yep.
But then we got in another situation where the defense was just asked to do everything, and this one, they did not look as good down the stretch. It seemed like for every big play that the defense was stepping up and making, Florida would rip off a huge run. That was a thing in the second half. I mean,
Florida did have a lot more rushing yards than Missouri did in this game.
32 rushes for 231 yards. It's that 7.2 yards per rush. Johnson had a run of 41 yards. Etienne had a 39-yard run, and then Richardson had a 32-yard run, which I think was a fourth down play. Was that fourth down where the middle just kind of opened up and he took off? I probably everybody watching that game saw that happen and just thought, oh, he's obviously got a lot of daylight there. Oh, that was such a crucial play. But I don't know what you expect the defense to do when they pretty much have to be perfect because the offense can't do anything.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating because, like, honestly, I mean, the offense played okay, but it's like they're not capable of big plays, and they're not capable of like finishing in the red zone. So it's like they'll drive all the way down the field. It's just like you can tell, you know, they're kind of like they'll break off some nice runs and stuff, but like in the pass game, it's kind of just like, okay, we just need everything to go right here, and it looks difficult. But they'll march down the field, you know, 60, 70 yards, and then they'll turn it over, or you know, they'll stall out somewhere or whatever it is. They just can't seem to finish off drives where everything has to go right for them to get that far. And so it's just infuriating. Like when you look at the stats, it's like, wow, Missouri played a decent game. And if you watch the game, you would kind of like just not really agree with that.
Yeah, and the tackle for loss thing sticks out to me because how many times have we seen a big play followed by a negative 2-yard rush?
Yeah. I feel like I was thinking that during this game where Drinkwitz always does this where they rip off a big run, I mean, maybe 15, 20-yard run, he always goes back to the run game.
And it's like
follows it up.
Hurry
with
up.
Yes.
Yeah. Get up to
Like,
the line.
I mean, it feels like almost 100% of the time, they're like, oh, that run worked. Let's do another one. And then it doesn't. It's like -2 yards. Like, I don't know. I don't know what you do. But it just seems like it's really predictable. It's like, okay, that worked. Let's do it again. And the defense is ready for it.
Something they have figured out on offense, though, is that like comeback route on the right side of the field, it was Mekhi Miller this week. And, you know, obviously dealing with some wide receiver injuries, and it's been Towski Dove multiple times.
Yeah.
For some reason, that like sideline throw where he hit Miller twice, huge plays. Like, I thought the game was over. Those were like game extending plays in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Where it gave us a little bit of hope multiple times, which shout out to Mekhi
like,
Miller for that, just coming up in a huge spot there.
Yeah, Missouri was great on third down in this game, which is really weird.
In 3rd and 15, 3rd and 22.
Yeah, just like things you would never expect them to do. So, yeah, I understand people are really frustrated with the Brady Cook. I completely understand that. I think it's warranted. I'm frustrated too, but honestly, like, he played okay in this game outside of like the just god awful pick six. Like that was just I was furious when that happened.
Yeah, the receiver did get bumped off his route, but
you just know like we're gonna have a really, really hard time coming back from that.
Yeah,
and we did, and because just you know how bad these offenses are, where a big defensive play probably going to be the difference, and it exactly was.
Yeah, and then we end up in the same situation where in the second half we need the defense to do something like that.
Yep.
We basically need the defense to score a touchdown in order to win the game.
Yep.
And I feel like this is the third game now, the Auburn game, the Georgia game, and now this, where we've been in it because these guys are not giving up, and we've got a good defense, but we need the defense to not only be good, we need them to be transcendent.
To be the offense.
Yes, we need them to literally score points for us.
Yeah. But I agree. Mekhi Miller looked amazing. Like, great size, good hands, athletic, smooth route runner. Like,
one of those was a pretty difficult catch.
Yes. Like, man, he has the potential to be a really, really good player. And I am so excited about that wide receiver room. And, again, like, coming into this year, I think that's something that we talked about a lot. Like, oh, man, those wide receivers are great. And, like, in my back of my mind, I think I knew, yes, they're talented, but they're very inexperienced. And I think there could still be a lot of bumps in the road, which there have been. But when I think about this team developing and, like, kind of turning the corner, I really feel like the wide receiver room is like leading that right now. And I feel like they kind of are turning the corner. Like Dominic Lovett has been one of the best receivers in the SEC. Luther Burden had some nice moments in this game. Mekhi Miller looks like has the potential to be a star.
Leading receiver in this game, Mookie Cooper, 4 catches for 58 yards.
Mookie Cooper has looked fantastic. Like, he's clearly taken a step. Like, unfortunately, it takes time, but these guys are young, and they look to me like they're developing really quickly. And so that's certainly exciting, and that's exciting for whoever's playing quarterback the rest of the year and next year.
One thing that a listener pointed out last week in the YouTube comments was the lack of throws to the running backs. And we actually did see a couple. I think Schrader and Pete each caught a pass in this game. And we were talking about, like, no true running back screen plays. But we actually saw one early on to Pete, but then they didn't ever go back to it. And I wonder, because we've seen Tyler Beatty be prolific in the passing game, I wonder how much of that is on Brady Cook just going through his progressions in a way where he doesn't have time to get back to the running back.
Just taking a check down.
Right. Like, it almost seems like watching him go through his progressions, he needs to go, like, first read, where's my check down? I don't know. It just seems like there's opportunity on a lot of these plays where Cook gets
he's
flustered and
exactly.
And
he's struggling. He's on the run. He needs like a safety valve.
Yeah.
And I could be misremembering, but I think one of those big like third down conversions that was almost just like I was ready to punt because it was just like 3rd and 22. That might have been a screen or just a running or a check down to Schrader.
Yeah, there was a
Was that a pass?
Yeah, I think there was. there was a nice throw to Schrader where he made a guy miss.
And I think that was just like a safety valve type play.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree. That certainly can't hurt to just take some easy passes and let the athlete in space do what they do.
Yeah, we kind of do that with the receivers on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have these quick screen plays or just quick throws to the receivers on the edge. And I just feel like on some of those more where Cook is trying to go through his reads, he just needs an easier out of the situation sometimes. And he's finding that by just tucking the ball and running or, running for no gain most of the time. The official stats are 14 carries for 16 yards in this game. So he's making plays with his legs, but then most of the time he's getting nowhere.
Yeah.
And that's because it's not coming as a natural part of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
It's him not finding anybody at first and then kind of not being able to go anywhere.
Yeah. I still feel like this is one of the best games Brady has played so far. The running game was pretty good at times. Like Pete had some good runs. Offensive line was getting in the second level a little bit. I would love to see a little bit more Tavoris Jones. I mean, if you can avoid burning the red shirt, that's maybe ideal. But at that same time,
he returned a kick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that counts as one of his 4 games.
Yeah, I still think he's clearly the most talented back on the roster. So I wouldn't mind seeing him get out there a little bit more. But I don't know. It's like I'm with the fans that are frustrated because we've lost games that we should win probably. We basically won the Auburn game and just missed the kick and should have pulled off a win against Georgia and then had to play Florida on the road. These are really difficult games. It's kind of a gauntlet. But
I saw. Sorry.
I was going to say, but I do feel like I've seen some encouraging things from the offense that, you really think that team we saw show up in Manhattan, Kansas a month ago, you really think that team is like taking Georgia to the wire, taking Florida to the wire? Like, this team has gotten better. I know there's nothing to show for it win-loss wise, but I feel like they've improved somewhat in some areas.
Yeah. Well, and I think the defense is better than we expected preseason.
Oh yeah.
Now, well,
we really talked up the defense
we did.
preseason, and we kind of put it all out there, and they were even better than we thought, maybe. So, I was kind of thinking, we were going to regret that because we were really talking up the defense, but they have they made us look good for sure.
What was Cook's second interception? I can't place it in the game.
It was the same guy that got the pick six. It was he forced one to Luther Burden in the red zone.
Right.
Again,
easily in field goal range.
Good, yes. Yeah. Good drive, couldn't finish. And by the way, the guy that got those 2 interceptions, I'm pretty sure was the same guy that said something in the post game, or maybe even it was during the week before about we got to beat Missouri. That's a team we have to beat. And of course, he has the most impactful game of anybody.
3rd and 6 at the Florida 16. Brady Cook pass interception. Yeah. Ugh.
It's just killer, man.
Yeah.
Can't do that. That's why you have these good stats, bad score.
Yeah, and
just
that's not
do all the
and
work.
It's not all on him because,
Right.
like we're talking about with the, tackles for loss.
Yeah.
That type of thing is what sets up the forcing a bad throw. I don't know. The offense is just, like we've said many times, it's such a struggle to get anything going.
Yeah.
And when it seems like the play calling and the offensive line are going well, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, Brady makes a mistake.
When Cook is really playing well, then the offensive line will allow a bunch of tackles for loss.
There's just not enough talent for everybody to be rowing the boat the same direction at all times, and that's frustrating. It really is. But I feel like I've seen some things the last couple of games that do make me think if there were an upgrade of athletes here, this play calling might be fine.
Yeah. Yep, I can't argue with that. The good news is, like we talked about earlier, we got a bye week.
Mizzou can't hurt us this week.
Get healthy, you know, and then
Rebound.
come out
hopefully.
strong for home game against Vanderbilt, right? That's what's next.
Yep.
Homecoming.
I think so.
It's a night game.
3:00.
Close enough.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
We'll take it.
So, anything else about that Florida game? Since there's a bye week and basketball is in the air, we're going to preview the basketball team a little bit. We're going to talk about the coach and the players, go through the roster, familiarize everyone. And like I always say, when a new season is starting up, now's the time. You've got friends and family who are kind of out on Mizzou football. They stopped listening a month ago. No big deal. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. But now it's basketball season. Get them back in.
We're reborn.
I know some folks in Discord are itching for some basketball content.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is. I thought maybe I would start it off by just reminding everybody who the head coach is, because it's been a while, and just a little bit of his background, and then we can get into all the players. So Coach Gates played at Cal. He was two-time first-team All-Pac-10 All-Academic team. Interned for the LA Clippers, then was a graduate assistant at Marquette and Florida State. Returned to Cal as an assistant, then was an assistant at Northern Illinois, Nevada, and 8 years at Florida State before becoming a head coach at Cleveland State. He was there for 3 seasons, orchestrated a pretty significant turnaround for them, going 11-21 his first season, then 19-8, and now 20-11. And perhaps the best thing he did since becoming the Mizzou head coach was hire assistant C.Y. Young, Charlton Young. He is a dynamite recruiter, has experience as a head coach, and just overall, Coach Gates put together a staff that I'm thrilled with. And
Dickie Nutt.
of course, can't forget Dickie Nutt. I'm super excited for the season. I am excited to talk about the players. There's a lot of, almost the maximum amount of roster turnover this past off season. But now that we're less than a month away from games, how are you feeling about Coach Gates in his first just off season at Mizzou?
Oh, I'm thrilled. I couldn't be happier with where the Missouri basketball program is right now. As far as I feel so confident in who we have running this program, and I mean, right now it looks like a great hire. I think at the time we were all like maybe not skeptical. I mean, some of us I'm sure were maybe a little underwhelmed just by like the resume and all that stuff. But man, he's just come in and worked hard. Great hire, like you said. Great staff. Recruiting has like completely returned, which was like one of my huge concerns with Konzo. Like really, the entire time he was here, was that just didn't seem like a focus for him, and that's been the complete opposite for Dennis Gates. Like just nobody's outworking this guy, and I love just like I don't know, I just something about him. He's really embraced the Mizzou culture and fan base, and I don't know, I feel great.
Yeah, I like following him on Twitter because he will tweet out videos of them running drills in practice and like explain what the drill is and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like a nerd for that kind of coaching insight. I think that kind of stuff's really fun. I'm thrilled with the hire as well, and it's not all going to be perfect every season with Coach Gates, but I don't think there's going to be anybody in the SEC working harder than Coach Gates to elevate their program.
Yep.
I mean, he's going to be right there at the top of the list. So looking at the roster, I figure first we'll just talk about the returning players that everybody's somewhat familiar with, starting with Kobe and Caleb Brown. Kobe Brown, a senior, technically has 2 years of eligibility left. And he's been the best player for Missouri, basically, more or less the whole time he's been here. I mean, in a sense that they have needed to rely on him too much
Yeah.
at too young of an age, too early in his development.
Yeah.
He's been asked to do too much.
Yeah, it's almost like a little bit of the Kevin Purrier thing where it's like a little athletically limited in some ways, like a little undersized for the position he plays, at least height-wise. But just works his tail off, has gotten so much better from – I mean, he was good immediately. Like,
good fundamentals for sure.
His freshman year, he was already, making an impact early, but has really developed. Smart player, just uses his body really well, even though he is a little undersized. But, I mean, I fully expect him to be, again, like one of the kind of cornerstones of the team this year, and really happy he stuck around because he I'm sure had other options.
Yeah, I like the parallel to Purrier, though, because we could be looking at a situation exactly like Konzo's first year with this influx of talent. Purrier was no longer asked to do more than he was capable of, and he thrived in a new role. And I think we could see very much the same thing for Kobe Brown, where he's not being asked to create as much offense, and he can do what he does best, which is just finish at the rim and get putbacks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we were basically still running that kind of Cornell man offense last year, where that 4 spot is pivotal, where it was kind of like felt like he was hired to run the Michael Porter Jr. show from the 4 spot. Well, that was Kobe Brown last year. It was just like just feed Kobe Brown and let him just go to work. And it's pretty frustrating from an X and O standpoint, honestly.
Yeah.
He was still able to make it work for most of the time last year. So, I'm curious and excited to see how they use him this year.
Caleb Brown, don't expect much out of him, honestly. He could maybe be an emergency point guard. He actually shot the ball pretty well in very limited play last year. He still is a work in progress with being ready to compete at the SEC level. That's not a problem, though. Still has time to develop, and he's going to have a couple good point guards in front of him, I think, to learn from. And then the other returning player is Ronnie DeGray. Still, I think, 3 years of eligibility left for him. He's listed as a junior. He transferred in 2 off seasons ago from Massachusetts, and last year did not start very many games, if any. Was a bench player, but he scored 8 points per game and had 5 rebounds per game. Weren't sure. There was a time where I thought maybe Kobe and Caleb were going to be the only returning players from last year's team, but I'm happy that Ronnie DeGray is the guy that we kept on board. He does a lot of things well.
Yeah,
I would say he's not incredible at any one thing, but he's almost like you can rely on him to rebound his position, play solid defense, and score when the opportunity arises.
Yeah, he's definitely like a situational player, versatile. And I remember thinking some games last year, after pulling out a narrow victory, I remember thinking specifically like, man, there's no way we win that without DeGray's like effort on the boards and stuff like that. Again, kind of using, even though he's undersized, kind of like using his body well to get rebounds and playing hard all the time, and
good fundamentals.
Yeah, and he can step out and shoot a little bit too. So I don't know what his role is going to be like this year. I think it's very possible he gets buried a little bit minutes wise, but he said it in the off season, like he just loves Mizzou, man. He enjoyed his season last year and loves being here, so I gotta respect that.
All right, so the next player that probably everybody's most familiar with is going to be Aiden Shaw, the incoming freshman, the only incoming true freshman. He is an incredible athlete. I don't know if anybody's seen the videos going around of him, testing his vertical leap and stuff like that. He can jump out of the gym. I think if they needed him to be, he could be an interior defender and really do well there game 1 if they really needed him to, just because he's that athletic and he's tall enough. He's not like a true post player, but he's tall enough, athletic enough, long enough arms to impact shots around the rim. And he's athletic enough to keep up with, smaller forwards and guards. So I think he's going to shine defensively. If he's going to do anything early, it's going to be on defense, I think. And he'll have enough defensive versatility that I don't think they'll be able to keep him off the floor for very long.
Yeah, I definitely foresee him like getting more minutes as the season goes on for sure. But I mean, yeah, that's his athleticism is what sticks out about Aiden Shaw. I mean, he has the ability to shoot the three, and I think down the road he's going to be an offensive threat. But for this season, yeah, I think we'll see him trying to take advantage of those moments where he's out athleting people, skying over somebody to get a rebound, that kind of stuff. Definitely think he can maybe be used in the pick and roll situation. I feel like they're going to utilize that a lot. Just getting the bigs kind of running in the pick and roll game. I think that's something he's capable of. So, yeah, I'm excited to see him play for sure.
Now we have a long list of transfers into the program. We'll start with 2 JUCO transfers. So we've got a point guard in Sean East. He's a 6'3" junior. He actually played a little bit at Bradley. Actually played against Missouri when he was with Bradley. Transferred to JUCO and lit it up there. One of the best players in the country. I think he was JUCO Player of the Year by certain outlets. And he is an offensive threat, and I think that will translate to SEC play. Maybe, obviously, it's a different level of competition, but he's played against Power 5 opponents when he was with Bradley, and then just kind of was able to hone his skills a little bit at JUCO. I think he's going to contribute offensively and be. We'll talk about another point guard later, but I think he'll kind of be an offensive spark that can go on a little run by himself. That type of player.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of mentioned Nick Honor there for a second, but yeah, definitely a kind of a more high scoring guard potentially than Honor. Can handle the ball and stuff like that, but probably going to be off the ball, I would expect, a little bit more this season. And great shooter, and so yeah, I think he'll get a lot of playing time.
And then the other JUCO transfer is Mo Diarra, another junior. He's 6'10", but can probably play the 3, 4, or 5. I think he doesn't view himself as a post player. I think if he were going to give himself a number, it would be the 3, most likely. So I don't know.
A little more competition for playing time if he's playing the 3. But
exactly.
Yeah, I mean he's versatile for sure. He's 6'10" though.
Yeah, and long arms, and if he can defend, stretch 4s and stretch 5s in the SEC, which I don't see why he wouldn't be able to, then he'll be able to be out there and do whatever he wants on offense. He can play at the 3-point line, or like between the 3-point line and the elbow if he wants to, and just let Kobe play in the post. That's on the table as long as he can be on the court because he can defend post players.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always a little skeptical of players making the jump from JUCO to like high Division I basketball and being relied upon. We've seen that not go super well for Missouri in the past, but these are 2 of the best JUCO players in the country last year. Like literally maybe 1 and 2 is how outlets had them ranked. So these guys are clearly talented enough to make a difference at Missouri, and I don't know how much playing time Diarra gets this season. Don't know if he's going to start. I kind of feel like he could start or be like the 9th man off the bench. I literally have no idea what to think of how they're going to use him.
Yeah, there's just such a glaring hole on this roster at the 5 spot that if you've got a guy who's 6'10" and can do anything, you basically need to plug him in there.
Basically, yeah.
All right, so then next up is all the other transfers. There are 3 transfers from Coach Gates' former school, Cleveland State, and that is Demoy Hodge, Trey Gomillion, and Mabor Majak. In that order, that's the order I think they will contribute. Hodge is going to be the biggest contributor for Missouri, I think. I don't know that he's guaranteed to be a starter. He probably is going to start a lot of games, just having that familiarity with the coaching staff and everything. He does not have any more eligibility past this year. He's 6'4" and had 15 points per game last year for Cleveland State.
Yeah, I think it's a good chance he starts. I think he had a lot of options when he transferred from Cleveland State. pretty big guard that can score at all three levels. Shot a ton of threes last year, like really high volume shooter, but made a lot of threes too. He's a great shooter. I think they're really gonna take the top off the defense. With how many guys can shoot, and he'll be one that probably shoots over 200 threes this year. Maybe it's possible.
Yeah,
for him.
And then Trey Gomillion, also 6'4". He averaged 10.5 points per game for Cleveland State last year. Now, both of these guys, excellent on-ball defenders. They each won Horizon League Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. Gomillion's one of those guys where it's like, I just have a hard time like penciling him in for playing time. It's like, man, I just feel like there's guys ahead of him. But he's a little bigger than I realized. He's 6'4", a great defender. I think he's kind of one of those guys that maybe doesn't fill up the stat sheet, but just helps you win in more, I don't even know how to, not statistical categories. He's just kind of like the rah guy that, everybody kind of rallies behind. And I think coach absolutely loves him, and so I don't know. He'll play plenty. I don't know what exactly that role is going to be, but he'll be out there.
And then Majak, probably
not.
He was one of the last additions to this roster.
I'm not. Is he even on scholarship? I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not sure. He might be a walk-on.
I think they were he came on as a walk-on, and then they were gonna see.
Yeah.
Maybe, and I don't know if I ever heard how that was.
I feel like there was a scholarship that he could have received, but I don't know. Then another Horizon League transfer is DeAndre Golston from Milwaukee. And he also, this will be his final year of college eligibility. And he was the main offensive threat for a Milwaukee team last year that had an injured Patrick Baldwin Jr. most of the time, 5-star recruit that wanted to play for his dad. He was out pretty much the entire year, which kind of forced Golston into the primary scoring threat, which he actually was the year before on the same team. So he is another guy that's he's just a forward who can score at all three levels, but he kind of needs the ball in his hand on offense to be productive, and we kind of just have too many guys that fit that description.
Yeah, I think that's what's just kind of curious about how everything's going to shake out, is because I just legitimately see 9 or 10 guys that could easily be consistent contributors, but I don't know exactly how the minutes are going to shake out, because I just don't know that you optimally want to play 10 guys.
Right.
But yeah, Golston's kind of one of those guys where I kind of, again, haven't penciled in towards the bottom, but wouldn't be surprised if he got quite a bit of playing time, because he's a very talented scorer, and he's kind of a similar player to Demoy Hodge in some ways, maybe a little bit more of an inside presence than Hodge. Hodge is probably more of a guard, but both those guys are experienced scorers and don't know exactly how they're going to use them, but they're both talented.
Yeah, it seems like it's so weird. We're not completely done yet, but the amount of players on this team that you can just give the ball to and kind of let them go manufacture some offense when you're in a pinch. Mm-hmm. We haven't had, when Penson and Drew Smith, I feel like that's what I always go back to. But even then, Drew Smith, that was not his optimal role, was not creating offense for himself.
Right. But it was just sometimes that was the best offense that
exactly.
we had.
Yeah. So now we actually have multiple guys that they are playing their best game when they are creating a shot for themselves.
Right. Yeah. I feel like Konzo always talked about positionless basketball. I'm not sure we ever really saw it, but I feel like this team could be almost what the personnel-wise, what he would have wanted for some of his teams, where, everybody's 6'3" or taller, except for maybe Nick Honor if he's playing point. But outside of the point guard, pretty much everybody 2 through 5 can basically do anything, can play anywhere, and can create from any of those positions, defend any of those positions. So, I think some of these players are kind of interchangeable, and, we haven't even talked about Noah Carter, Isaiah Mosley. I mean, there's just a lot you can do with this lineup.
Let's get into it. So Nick Honor, we mentioned him multiple times, 5'10" point guard, transferred in from Clemson, 2 years of eligibility.
His role is definitely the easiest to predict.
Yeah.
He's the one guy in the team where it's he's only doing this.
Yeah. But I'm watching his highlights from Clemson. He's exciting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how often he and East will be on the floor at the same time. They could easily do that, slide East to the 2 spot and have Nick Honor running the show. But they could also just like split the minutes perfectly at point guard. And that is very appealing when you can just like sub in your backup point guard and not miss a beat, and they have a little bit different skill set, so you're challenging the defense in a slightly different way.
Oh yeah, totally different skill set.
And yeah, Nick Honor is a distributing point guard who is a good defender, and he can just hit a spot up 3 if you need him to.
Yeah, I feel like he's the exact role of somebody that we would have wanted on some of those Conzo teams, where it's like we just need somebody that won't turn the ball over.
Yes.
We just need a like steady hand who's like running the offense and like not making mistakes. And I think Nick Honor will be exactly that. He's not going to be a high scorer. He can hit threes in specific moments, but I think there's enough scoring threats on this game on this team where he's not going to be really expected to do that. I wouldn't think consistently, but it's just going to be that steady hand that's just going to keep things going at all times.
Yeah, I see it just as like another guy who in a late shot clock situation, if you have the right personnel on the floor, you can kick it out to anyone and you feel comfortable with them shooting it.
Yeah, very capable.
Late clock situation. Hasn't always been the case.
No.
How weird is it that like positionless basketball that Khan's always talked about, and like the model for that is Leonard Hamilton at Florida State, and then we go and get Dennis Gates, who is like seemingly taken that philosophy from Leonard Hamilton, but then just
like a disciple.
But then just put his own little spin on it to where he can make it work.
Yeah.
And if he is actually able to make it work, then
yeah, I mean, this roster is certainly not probably as one with like the talent and length that you would like see at Florida State, but it's certainly like the same general idea. And I feel like a lot of his recruits kind of fit that though. Like just like extreme length and, versatility, that kind of stuff. So it does seem like that's the direction they're moving. They'll probably try and fit that this year, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, everybody has length. Everybody can score from wherever they're at.
Yeah. We shouldn't get completely through this little preview here without mentioning the departure of Trevon Brazile, because that is the hole in this roster. There is just a perfectly Trevon Brazile sized hole in this roster. And a lot of the issues that I could see the team having this season go right back to that hole being there. And just the way he was developing his 3-point shot blocking, finishing at the rim, that him on this roster, like the expectation would be NCAA tournament. I don't think that's the case right now because of that hole. We'll see. But
yeah, I think this is very much a we'll see, just like let's just see how this goes scenario. And they could make the tournament and I wouldn't be surprised, and they could struggle and I wouldn't be surprised. But losing Trevon Brazile just absolutely hurts. There's no way around it. There's no other way to describe that. We knew that was going to hurt really bad. And things like when he left, I don't even know if we knew who the coach was going to be at that time. Things were kind of dark. We were losing a lot of the team was turning over, and things got way better like after that. But man, I wish he would have stuck around. It's going to suck seeing him go off for Arkansas. Like, I mean, literally go anywhere else, please, like, except for like Arkansas or Kansas. And it's just like, I can live with it. But man, it really sucks that he just happened to go to Arkansas, and he'll probably be great there.
Yeah, like go to North Carolina, Duke, anywhere.
Just get out of our schedule.
Now, Noah Carter, junior transfer from Northern Iowa. He's a guy who, the way that he was used at Northern Iowa, would kind of start to be a piece that could fill that hole a little bit. Now, he doesn't have the athleticism or the length or the height, but they used him at Northern Iowa at the 5 spot.
Yep.
I know that he was used that way. I know Diarra doesn't see himself as a 5. I don't think Missouri uses Noah Carter at the 5 spot.
No, I don't think they will have to, and I don't think they will want to. But again, a guy with a versatile skill set. I mean, that's kind of the theme with all these guys is like, I don't know that they're going to be doing the role that they had at their previous school, which could lead to some learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
But it also just, speaks to the versatility and the athleticism that these guys have and what they're able to do in certain situations. But yeah, Noah Carter's kind of like that player that's like, I mean, you said it. He's not athletically gifted necessarily or anything like that, but really, really smart player. Just kind of like finds a way. I don't know. It's like, I watched him several times at Northern Iowa, and man, he's a pain to go against because he's really he's very versatile. But it's like, I don't know how he's doing this, but he's really creating issues for the defense he's going against.
Last year at Northern Iowa, he averaged 15 points per game and 4 rebounds per game, and he was attempting 4 threes per game.
Yeah.
So definitely a versatile player on offense.
Mm-hmm.
Who can he guard in the SEC on defense? Well, that's what we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys, their way to playing time is being able to defend a position really well. And then the most exciting transfer into Mizzou in quite a while is the hometown kid, Isaiah Mosley. Welcome home. Took a roundabout way to end up in a Mizzou uniform, but we will see it very shortly. 6'5", guard, most recently at Missouri State. Before that, Rockbridge High School in Columbia, Missouri. Mm-hmm. And in one of the weirdest head-scratching things ever, in the Conzo Martin era, somehow was not offered a committable offer from the staff.
Yeah, Conzo let a lot of talent get out of the state, and Isaiah Mosley was one of the most glaring issues, most glaring situations where that happened. And I was thrilled to, as someone who follows Missouri State basketball, I was thrilled that I was going to get to see him play all the time down in here in Springfield. I feel like I've seen him play 50 times or more. Like, he's just, I don't know, man. He's perfect for the role that he's going to play at Missouri. He's just a big guard, going to inject immediate scoring into this team. He's going to shoot very high volume and probably make a lot of threes. He's so creative with the ball and can score it in every level. So, I think it's going to be interesting. His usage was just unbelievable at Missouri State. Like, probably, I'm thinking top 20, top 30 usage in the country last year. Just like taking so many shots, so many possessions, like ended with Mosley doing something.
Yeah.
I don't know if this usage will be quite that high at Mizzou. Probably doesn't need to be, but if he could somehow score, continue to score, 15, 20 points a game, I think that's completely reasonable.
Yeah, his last 2 seasons at Missouri State, he was averaging 14 attempts per game, but shooting 50% from the field.
Yeah.
And last year at Missouri State, shot 42% from 3 on 5 attempts per game.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like he was incredibly efficient, but on like high volume too.
Yeah. Yeah, 20 points per game last year for the Bears. You got to expect that to dip a bit. Better competition and, better teammates around you, most likely.
Yeah.
Missouri State, decent team last year, though.
Yeah. And he performed well against good competition, too. Missouri State played in the NIT last year and against Oklahoma in their first game, and Mosley had like 20-plus points in the first half. So, that's what he does. It's almost like kind of hard to describe like what he does so well, but he just I don't know, he just kind of just keeps working on the defense until he finds a way to exploit you, and will just kind of back you down in the post, or he'll just shoot over you. I mean, it does not matter. Like, you figure him out, he'll exploit you another way.
40 points in a road upset over what are they called? Loyola Chicago.
Oh, the Ramblers or something like that?
Yeah. I was just trying to think of Loyola Chicago.
Oh, I thought you were trying to think of like their mascot or something. Just randomly just delivered it.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
When Missouri State beat Loyola Chicago on the road, he scored 40 points. That's just big game, showing up for a big game and delivering.
Yeah. He scored 42 against Northern Iowa, I believe, which they had AJ Green in that game, and who scored like 30 something. So they were just going back and forth. But I mean, it just
Where
feels
did
like
he end up? Putting you on the spot.
I don't remember. He might have actually gone pro.
I'll find out.
Yeah, please do. But I mean, it just seems like Missouri. It's been a while since Missouri has that guy, that go-to guy, where it's like we need to score. We know exactly who we're going to, and it doesn't even matter if the defense knows. Like that's still just our best chance to score, and Mosley is going to be exactly that.
AJ Green, Milwaukee Buck. You're right. Mosley, you were talking about like just his finishing ability and the way he breaks down a defense. Like his highlight tape, it's incredible how the defense would like. I think I've said this on the podcast before, but the defense will like bring a double team and he'll just kind of be like, okay, well, I'll just back out of this a little bit. I'll reset. It's like he
doesn't even pass out of it sometimes.
He's
just
resetting the offense all by himself
Yep.
to get out of a double team, and then he just goes and attacks again and scores.
Just kind of reassesses. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, he does. That's exactly what he does. He goes in, kind of sees what happens, sometimes resets, and then attacks again in a different way or different angle. And he just finds a way. He uses the backboard really well, but depending on where he's at, just understands angles. And man, he's fun to watch.
I'm envisioning many times where he is, working his way into the paint. Kobe Brown is there for a dump off or a putback or whatever he needs on the back end, and then there's three guys ready for a spot up 3-pointer.
Yeah, I mean, he just has that great court awareness and the quick decision making to where he eventually, I'm sure he is going to start getting doubled, and he'll just pass out of it real quickly or whatever he needs to do. I think he has enough talent on this team where he'll give it up, if he needs to, and it'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, his instincts for that kind of stuff are top notch. I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah, there were definitely moments at Missouri State where, he just had to do it himself a little bit, and Missouri State had some good players too, but I don't foresee that happening quite as much at Mizzou, where he just kind of feels like he has to force it. And the crazy thing though is like it didn't really feel like he was forcing it.
When your like shooting percentages are still that good.
Yeah,
I do see some times where he's going to, there could be a possession here and there where he's the only one that touches the ball, and we probably don't want to see that. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. I can't imagine the coaching staff is going to want to see that all the time. So that's probably not a good sign if we're resorting to that kind of offense. But I don't know. I think the offense is going to look good this year. I think it's going to be a nice palate cleanser for the last couple seasons where we've struggled to score points and starting slow. That's something that when you have just a pure scorer like Mosley and some 3-point shooters, you're kind of immune to those just 12-0 starts for the opposing team.
Yeah, somebody's going to figure it out before it gets to that point, I think, on a team like this.
So let's see here. Let's think about the starting lineup, and maybe not necessarily the game one starters. I like to think about what starting five will be the most used starting lineup when the season is all said and done. And right off the bat, it's kind of tricky who you pencil in as the starting point guard. I think I'm going to put Sean East down and have Nick Honor as like 6th man. Because like I said earlier, I think they could play alongside each other, but I would be intrigued by just like basically splitting the point guard minutes between them perfectly and just having that complement.
Yeah, I'd be perfectly fine with them just kind of splitting at the one. For the sake of this exercise, I feel like Nick Honor is someone I feel pretty strongly will start, but I have no idea.
Do you see them both starting?
I think so. I mean, total guess, but I think they'll both be out there quite a bit, just because they are just pretty different players as far as like their skill sets.
Do you have them penciled in at the 1 and 2 starting lineup?
Yep.
Maybe not game one, but over the course of the season. So then you must have Mosley as the starting 3.
Yes.
So I've got Mosley at the 2 and Carter at the 3. And then just saying that out loud, I think I kind of like your thought on it a little bit better. But
well, the thing is, when you get to this point, like those first 3 make a lot of sense, but now you're having to figure out what to do with the 4 and 5 position. And so I've got Demoy Hodge kind of penciled in as the 4. And I don't know if that makes sense. He's probably more suited for like the 3, and maybe Mosley's playing the 2. But I just feel like Mosley and Hodge are 2 of our best offensive players. They're going to be out there a lot. And if maybe we really do just kind of embrace kind of a positionless style, Hodge is kind of at the 4 with air quotes.
You know what? I'm going to actually switch up what I'm doing here. I'm going to put Hodge at the 3 starting most and Carter coming off the bench. I don't think Coach Gates is going to bring Hodge over from Cleveland State with 1 year left when he could have gone other places and have him
I
not
agree.
starting.
I think Hodge is pretty much a surefire starter, just not exactly sure where.
So then I've got Kobe Brown at the 4 and Mo Diarra at the 5.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've just got Kobe at the 5, and we're just going to go small.
It scares me a little bit, though, no?
Yeah, I mean, I think Diarra is just going to have an adjustment, man. Like, defensively, the speed of the game, I think it's going to be an adjustment, and maybe they just throw him to the fire right off the bat, and maybe he's completely fine. But I foresee maybe some defensive issues, maybe some fouling issues for Diarra off the, or at least at the beginning. But hopefully I'm wrong there.
Yeah, Kobe Brown at the 5 though just worries me on defense. I feel like he can really compete, and it just, I'm thinking about
like a Shibwe.
Yeah, now
like
that's
that.
kind of an outlier who nobody can really stop him.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't think Diarra is really slowing him down either. So.
Yeah, and I'm just
It's you're right though. I mean, it makes sense if he can fill that role. It seems like that's probably like best case scenario is if he can fill the 5 role and do it well. Then I think that's what we would want to happen. Where Kobe and Noah Carter are probably more playing like the 4.
Yeah.
I had Noah Carter as my 6th man for what that's worth, or whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what I did now that I put Hodge in the starting lineup. Yeah, Ronnie DeGray, Aiden Shaw, Golston, how those guys figure in, it'll
go million.
Yeah, all of that will be dependent on, game to game, the foul situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just like 4 guys, like those 4 or 5 guys you just named that are just kind of like any of these guys could be like 7 through 10, and I'm not really sure what order.
Yeah.
Maybe even 6 through 9 or 6 through 10. I don't know.
I feel like we're going to be in the market for a transfer big this next offseason.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that, probably most likely, but we'll see.
Maybe Majak can be the guy for the future. Well, that was all the basketball players.
I think Axel Congo has any eligibility left.
Might
want to come back.
We could find out probably. We could kick the tires on that.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
He's probably busy. So we'll talk about. He's not here to defend himself.
That was mean.
Although Ed Chang, I heard he might have some eligibility remaining.
Okay, now that I'd be interested.
That was our player preview. We're going to, I don't know how it'll fall. Obviously, we got football games to talk about too, so we will have some long episodes here coming up. But we will go game by game through the whole schedule and try to figure out what expectations should be set for this team. And we will do a 3-on-3 draft. And then before you know it, we'll be talking about games. Very exciting.
I'm excited.
You optimistic?
Yeah, I mean, just like the thought of like basketball season being around in the corner, like having games a couple times a week and stuff, and just all new everything.
About to be busy.
I'm excited.
All right. Well, anything else before we sign off?
We could do some pick 'em.
Do some pick 'em.
Oh my goodness, a long episode. All right, take it away, producer Cameron.
Okay. Last week.
Got to get back into football mode.
Yeah.
Gears here. Football. Okay.
Last week, Cameron got 5, Kyle got 6, I got 6, guest pickers got 6.
Oh my gosh.
So our season totals are
I suck at this.
Cameron 38, Kyle 42, guest pickers 43, and I have 47.
Okay, not completely out of it. Did I actually win this? Twice. Wow. Okay.
The first
Twice.
2 years, maybe.
I need to go back and listen to old episodes to see
Really channel
what I'm doing different.
your old strategies.
First episode.
Don't listen to that.
Please. Okay. First game, Auburn at number 9, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 14.5-point favorite.
Now, what happened last week? Ole Miss won, and we all picked somebody else, Kentucky, except for Tristan or whoever picked.
Yeah, I think so.
So Ole Miss is playing well.
Yeah, I need to look at Will Levis' situation before that.
I was thinking about that. Like, we picked 2 games maybe last week that had like considerable like injuries that would probably have changed things if we knew. But you give me Ole Miss.
Yeah, definitely.
Ole Miss all around. Our guest picker this week is Mr. Smith.
Welcome in.
Welcome in, Brian.
Good luck.
Second game is Vanderbilt at number 1, Georgia. Georgia is a 38-point favorite.
I think I'll take Georgia.
Who are they playing?
Vanderbilt.
Oh, that's tough. Give me Georgia.
Everybody on Georgia. Game of the week. Number 3, Alabama at number 6, Tennessee. Alabama is a 7.5-point favorite.
At Tennessee?
Does Tennessee have that in them? Is Alabama number 1 now?
Is 3.
3.
Who's number 1? Ohio State?
Georgia.
Who's number 2?
I thought Georgia.
I thought Georgia was number 2.
I thought Alabama was number 1, but I could totally be wrong. Is Bryce Young playing? He missed last week. Maybe that's why they moved down to number 3, because they didn't play all that well.
A&M, the frauds.
I told you they were gonna.
This is
it
the
came
game.
down to the last play of the game,
And they kind of just threw it away.
and they yes, that was a terrible play. If Bryce Young is not playing,
He's made a lot of progress. To be determined whether he will play. He is practicing, but we don't know.
Man, am I gonna pick against Alabama?
I'm not. I'm taking Alabama.
Yeah, give me Tennessee.
Oh.
Old Rocky Top. Gonna pull it off.
No way, Tennessee. Tennessee, like, okay, they're a playoff contender. Is that what we're saying?
I think so. I think they're really good. I think they're really good, and they're just catching Alabama at a weird time with Bryce Young and all that.
Coaches poll Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, AP, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. If anybody cares.
Okay.
Jeez, I'm gonna take Alabama.
Ooh, Kyle's on an island.
I'm probably gonna regret that.
Where's it being played?
At Tennessee.
Tennessee.
You want to suffer with me?
I don't want to root for Tennessee. I feel better rooting for Alabama than Tennessee. You feel like you want to be a part of Tennessee, like firmly planting their name in the playoff conversation?
No, I just want the points.
Oh, well, that's one way to think about it.
Well, I'm probably not gonna get the points.
Yeah. I'll stick with Alabama.
My first jinx.
I wish I could. I wish I knew a little more on Bryce Young, because that changes everything. But
I bet he plays.
he probably does.
Arkansas at BYU. Arkansas is a 1.5-point favorite.
Give me
That is a
BYU.
weird matchup.
BYU.
What?
I don't know
What
anything
guest
about
picker?
BYU.
Brian?
Yeah. What do you pick?
BYU.
Oh.
So everyone picked BYU.
Is that who you're picking?
Who's the favorite?
Arkansas, 1.5.
Yeah, give me Arkansas.
Okay, I'll stick with BYU.
BYOB.
I feel like Arkansas is gonna win, but
Well,
whatever.
then that'd be a good team to pick in a game where the whole point is picking a winner.
I think I don't. I think who I think is gonna win just loses. So
Okay, well that explains how you're
opposite.
losing.
Do
Okay. Man, Kyle's on an island twice already.
Oh, this is great.
This is great. LSU at Florida. Florida is a 2.5-point favorite.
Ooh, we got some close games.
now that's a game I do not want to watch. I'll take Florida,
Florida's at home.
Yeah.
and they're the favorite by barely.
Okay, I'll take LSU.
I'll take LSU.
Am I on an island?
No, Brian takes Florida.
Ooh.
That makes me want to switch so I can gain points. Oh well, Florida. They learned a lot this past week.
Okay.
Number 16, Mississippi State at number 22, Kentucky. Kentucky is a 4-point favorite.
Will Levis is playing.
He is? Okay.
Who's at home?
Man, Mississippi State's been good.
Kentucky. 4-point favorite.
And you know what I say about Kentucky?
I want Mississippi State. I'm calling it. I'm taking Mississippi State.
So does Brian.
We are planting the flag for Mississippi State because Kentucky is fraudulent.
Oh my gosh! Even with Will Levis.
A little bit.
Okay.
Everybody's on Mississippi State.
Wow.
Wow.
What a statement.
Nebraska at Purdue. Purdue is a 14-point favorite.
Sounds pretty convincing.
I wish I knew more about Purdue.
I don't know anything about them.
I'm tempted.
Ooh, you're tempted?
I want everybody else to pick Purdue
I'll take Purdue.
before I make my decision.
All right, I'll take Purdue.
Everybody take Purdue?
Yeah.
I'll take Nebraska.
Oh, my God.
Hope you're right.
He's getting buried this week.
I feel like this happened to me last year where it like reached a point where I was like, I just kind of have to
You gotta get back in
pick
it.
some stuff. And I'm either going to
Gotta
get right
zig.
back in it or plummet.
Got to zig when they zag.
Feeling a plummet coming.
That's all.
Okay.
Now you can send them off.
Now we can end this. How do we do that? Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan DeMore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, Tim Keynes, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Garofalo, Brandon Hanks. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. You can find this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.bigcartel.com.
Thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you next week after a bye.